Nam let out a quiet sigh, hoisting his heavy backpack onto his shoulders. The cicadas buzzed loudly in the canopy of flame trees, signaling the arrival of another sweltering summer. He stood before the familiar gate of his high school, the place he'd been attached to for the past 3 years. Today marked the final school day before summer break, yet there wasn't a hint of excitement in Nam's heart. As a quiet and reserved senior, Nam usually immersed himself in books and his own world, rather than joining in the noisy fun of his classmates. He watched groups of friends laughing, taking photos together, and felt like a misfit among them. "Nam, what are you doing standing there? Let's go home," a voice called from behind. It was Lin, his childhood friend. Always energetic and bubbly, Lin was the one who constantly tried to pull Nam out of his shell. She looped her arm through his and smiled. "Why the long face? Summer break is here." Nam shook his head and replied, "I'm just not in the mood. You know I'm not really into crowds." Lin pouted. "There you go again. You're always like this." "Alright, I'm not taking no for an answer. Tonight, you're coming out with us. Trung and Nia are going too. The 4 of us, it'll be a blast. I promise." Nam furrowed his brow. "Where are we going?" Lin grinned. "To see a horror movie. There's a new one in theaters. And it's supposed to be really scary. You in?" Nam hesitated. He wasn't a fan of horror films. But Lin's excitement was hard to resist, and he didn't want to disappoint her. Maybe it was time to change things up a bit. "Alright, I'll go. But you have to promise, no scaring me." Lin squealed in delight. "Yes, okay. 7 p.m. sharp at the cinema. Trung and Nia will meet us there." That evening, Trung and Nia were already waiting at the theater. Trung, Nam's longtime friend, was the jokester of the group. Nia, with his highlighted hair and small tattoos on his arms, had a more rugged appearance, yet he was calm, intelligent, and well-read, especially when it came to folklore and the supernatural. Trung slapped Nam on the back. "Hey, you actually came. Thought you'd bail and stay home with your books again." Nam chuckled softly. "I promised Lin, remember?" Nia smirked. "Great, now that we're all here, let's see if any of you can make it through the whole movie." "I heard it's terrifying." Lin shuddered. "Nia, don't say that. I'm already freaking out." They entered the cinema together. The horror film was indeed terrifying, filled with eerie scenes and chilling sounds. Lin screamed every so often and clung to Nam's arm. Trung, on the other hand, was laughing the whole time, clearly enjoying the fright. Nia stayed stoic, as if he'd seen it all before. After the movie, they went out for dinner. The mood lightened considerably. Trung kept reenacting scary scenes, causing Lin to squeal now and then. Nam focused on eating, though he couldn't help but listen in. Nia sat quietly, occasionally adding chilling facts about real ghost stories. "I heard there's a famous abandoned school in Da Nang," Nia said suddenly, his voice low and mysterious. "People say it's haunted. Lots of students have died there." Lin looked uneasy. "Oh my god." "Nia, stop. I'm getting creeped out." But Trung was intrigued. "A haunted school? That sounds awesome. We should go check it out." Nam felt a chill run down his spine. He wasn't superstitious, but ghost stories had always fascinated him. Plus, he was curious. Was the school really that scary? Lin immediately protested. "Trung, are you crazy? That's dangerous. What if something happens?" Trung ignored her. "Come on, it'll be fine. Plus, we can take some epic photos. You in, Nam?" Nam didn't answer right away. His eyes wandered out the window, watching the twinkling city lights. A strange urge stirred inside him. Maybe this was his chance to break free from the monotony before summer truly began. He took a deep breath. "Alright, I'm in, but seriously, no pranks. Okay?" Trung cheered. "Awesome, we leave tomorrow. I heard the place is deep inside the alleys, so we'll have to walk quite a bit." The next morning, Da Nang's scorching summer heat blanketed the city. At a quiet alleyway, Nam, Trung, Lin, and Nia gathered, ready to begin their adventure. The road to the abandoned school was rough, flanked by moss-covered walls faded with age. "It's so hot," Lin groaned, fanning herself. "How much longer?" Trung checked his phone. "Looks like we're halfway there. Almost done." They continued walking through narrow alleyways, Their footsteps echoed in the silence. A dog barked in the distance. A car horn blared far off. Everything else was still. After a while, exhaustion set in. Trung stopped and looked around. Old houses lined the path, and the air smelled musty, a mix of dampness and dust. "Nam, let's rest a bit," Trung said, sitting on a crumbling step. Nam sat beside him, breathing heavily. "I'm so tired. Are we close yet?" As they rested, Nam suddenly heard a noise from an old house nearby, a faint sound. Like something falling. It startled him. He glanced toward the house, eyes wary. "Hello? Is someone there?" No reply, only the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Nam stood up and cautiously approached the house. Lin whispered, "Nam, be careful." He nodded and gently lifted an old curtain. Inside was an empty, dusty room. On the floor lay a torn charm, an old talisman made of fabric, embroidered with strange symbols Nam had never seen before. A cold chill ran down his spine. That charm, it looked just like the ones in ghost stories. Trung stepped up behind him. "Hey, look, a creepy old charm," he said. Excited, Lin warned, "Trung, don't touch it." But Trung ignored her, drawn by some strange force. He reached out and touched the talisman. Immediately, a piercing cold shot through his hand. Pain stabbed into his palm, as if something invisible was gripping him tightly. He gasped and yanked his hand back. The talisman dropped to the floor with a soft thud. A freezing gust of wind blew through the room, snuffing out every candle. Darkness swallowed everything. "What's going on?" Lin shrieked. Nam's heart pounded. He fumbled for his phone flashlight, no signal. Then came a sound, a soft laugh. High-pitched, hollow, like it came from the depths of hell. "Who's there?" Trung stammered. The laughter grew louder, now right next to their ears. Then, a hoarse whisper echoed through the silence. "You have awakened me?" Nam felt the blood in his veins turn to ice. He knew they'd made a terrible mistake. Trung's reckless idea, this daring exploration, it had led them somewhere they never should have gone. This wasn't just an old abandoned building. It was a dwelling of something ancient, something deeply, terrifyingly spiritual. "You have awakened me." The raspy whisper echoed through the thick darkness of the old room, making Nam feel as though the blood in his body had frozen solid. He knew now, they had made a terrible mistake. Trung's strange invitation, this reckless adventure, it had brought them to a place they should have never entered. This wasn't just an abandoned house. It was the resting place of something deeply spiritual and terrifying. In the pitch-black room, that piercing laughter and chilling voice seemed to paralyze Nam's senses. His heart pounded wildly. His chest tightened as if being crushed. The air turned bone-chilling. Not the ordinary coolness of Da Nang nights, but a damp, decaying cold, heavy with the scent of mold and death. "What is this?" Lin screamed, her voice trembling. She clutched Nam's hand tightly, and through her grip, he could feel the raw terror running through her. Trung, the one who had touched the charm, stammered, "Who's there?" His phone's flashlight still wouldn't turn on, only a blank, hopeless black screen. Even Nia, usually calm and composed, couldn't hide his fear. He tried to speak steadily, though his shoulders were visibly shaking. "It's nothing, probably just the wind," he said, but he didn't believe himself. The laughter came again, louder this time, as if someone were standing right beside them. Then a loud bang echoed from the doorway, like something massive had collapsed. All four of them jumped, instinctively clinging to one another. Nam fought to stay calm. He took a deep breath and said, "Everyone, calm down. We need to get out of here." His voice was firm, though he was trembling inside. "But it's so dark. I can't see anything." Lin sobbed. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Trung fumbled in the dark and touched something cold and slippery. He recoiled instantly. "What the heck? It's freezing." Suddenly, Nia remembered something. "The charm," he blurted. "We need to pick it back up. It might be what's holding all this in place." Nam felt an odd compulsion. He couldn't tell whether it was Nia's words or something else guiding him. But he knew he had to act. Gently releasing Lin's hand, he knelt down and fumbled through the dark. His fingers brushed against something soft, wet, And icy. He knew it, the charm. He grabbed it. Instantly, an intense cold shot into his palm. The moment Nam lifted the charm, the eerie laughter stopped abruptly. The darkness still cloaked the room, but the bone-deep chill seemed to ease slightly. "Nam, are you okay?" Lin whispered, still shaking. Nam took a deep breath. "I'm fine. We had to get out of here." Trung tried his flashlight again, this time. A weak beam flickered to life. The room came into view. Chaotic and terrifying. Chairs were overturned, curtains shredded, cobwebs draping every corner. The small charm still lay on the floor, now darker, radiating a subtle icy mist. "Let's go," Nia urged. He stepped toward the door first. They followed him closely, every footstep deliberate and tense. The alley leading out seemed longer than before. Every creak of floorboard, every gust of wind through the cracks made them flinch. As they passed a shattered window, Nam suddenly felt eyes watching him. He turned, and in the weak flashlight glow, he caught a glimpse. A pale white figure darted past the window. It lasted only a moment, but it chilled him to his core. He rubbed his eyes, convincing himself it was his imagination. "Did you see something?" Trung asked, noticing Nam had stopped. Nam shook his head. "It's nothing. Let's just keep moving." They walked on, but the feeling of being watched clung to Nam like fog. A cold presence surrounded him, as if someone was whispering indecipherable words into his ear. Finally, they emerged back into the familiar alley. The faint daylight, blurred by morning mist, was enough to ease some of the fear gripping their hearts. "Thank God, we made it out," Trung exhaled, collapsing onto a stone step. Lin was still trembling. She clung to Nam and cried, "That was terrifying. I never want to go back there." Nia glanced back at the house, his expression heavy. This isn't over. That charm, it's been disturbed." Nam looked down at his palm. The charm lay quietly in his hand. Though dry now, it still emitted that same icy feeling. He wasn't sure what to do with it. Throwing it away felt risky, but keeping it felt even worse. "So what do we do now?" Nam asked Nia, his voice full of worry. Nia thought for a moment, then replied, "Keep it, for now. I'll do some research. We might have accidentally released something." Without another word, the four of them left. They walked back to the main road in silence. The excitement and laughter from earlier were gone, replaced by a heavy, uneasy tension. On the way home, Nam felt an overwhelming fatigue. His head throbbed, his shoulders were heavy, as if something unseen was pressing down on him. The charm in his pocket radiated an odd energy that made him restless. By the time he got home, the sky was already darkening. Nam returned to his room, once comforting, now strangely unfamiliar. It felt like someone else was there, though he knew it was empty. He turned on the lights. The dim yellow glow pushed back the shadows, but not the unease in his chest. He placed the charm on his desk and stared at it. The symbols on it seemed to shimmer faintly in the dark. A strange urge rose in him, to get rid of it. But he hesitated. Maybe Nia was right. Maybe it meant something. Nam showered, trying to wash away the anxiety clinging to him. But when he stepped out of the bathroom, he heard a faint sound from the desk, a soft rustle, like paper being moved. He turned to look. The charm was still there, but not in the exact same spot. It had shifted slightly, as if someone had touched it. A chill shot down Nam's spine. This wasn't his imagination. Something had followed him home. He sat on the bed, trying to calm himself. "I'm just tired," he whispered. But then, another sound. This time, soft knocking. Coming from the window. Nam held his breath, staring toward it. No one was there, just darkness and the wind rustling the leaves. The knocking came again, louder, more deliberate. His heart pounded. Something wasn't right. He approached the window slowly, pulled the curtain aside. Nothing, just the empty alley and a flickering streetlight. He let out a shaky breath. Maybe I'm overthinking. Nam returned to bed, determined to sleep. But then, a whisper, right next to his ear. "You can't escape me." Nam jolted upright. That voice, it was the same one he heard in that cursed house. He looked around. No one. He flipped on every light in the room, banishing every shadow. But he knew, This was no ordinary adventure. That trip had opened a doorway. A door to something he never believed was real. And now, he was a part of it. Nam stared at the charm on the desk. It glowed faintly, as if calling to him. He felt the urge to touch it again, to understand it, but he pulled his hand away. Because now, he knew, his life would never be the same. That cursed charm had already begun to haunt him. "You can't escape me," the cold whisper echoed in Nam's ears, jolting him upright in bed. His small rented room suddenly felt suffocating. The dim yellow light was no match for the invisible darkness that seemed to engulf his mind. Nam's eyes darted around the room, searching desperately for any sign of a presence. But there was nothing, only a haunting silence and the thudding of his heart in his chest. He tried to take deep breaths, telling himself it was just stress and exhaustion from the trip. But the creeping chill didn't fade. Nam climbed out of bed, his bare feet meeting the icy floor tiles. He walked toward the desk where the charm still lay. Though invisible to the naked eye, he could feel it glowing faintly. Eerily, the strange symbols on the charm seemed to dance before his eyes, like they were alive. A strange urge told him to throw it away, but a nameless fear rooted him in place. The next morning, Nam woke with dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't slept a wink. The images from the old house, the shrill laughter, the haunting voice, the cursed charm, all haunted his thoughts. A heavy pressure seemed to weigh on his chest, like an invisible stone pressing down. Nam picked up his phone to call Nia but hesitated. He didn't want to disturb him too early. Maybe Nia was still researching the charm. So instead, Nam decided to go to school as usual, hoping to distract himself with normal life. At school, Nam tried to concentrate, but his mind kept drifting. Every strange noise startled him. Every passing figure made him feel watched. He knew it wasn't just paranoia. During the lunch break, Trung and Lin came to find him. "Hey Nam, you okay? You look like a ghost," Trung said, clearly worried. Lin added, "Yeah, you don't look well at all. Didn't sleep again last night, did you?" Nam shook his head. "I'm fine, just a little tired." He tried to hide what he was going through. He didn't want to worry them anymore, not after what they'd already been through together. Trung and Lin exchanged glances, clearly unconvinced, but they didn't push him. "All right, if you say so, but if anything's wrong, you better tell us," Trung said seriously. Lin nodded. "Yeah, Nam, we're your friends." Their concern warmed Nam's heart. He gave a weak smile. "Thanks, I will." After school, Nam returned to his room. Exhausted, he collapsed onto the bed, hoping to get a little rest. Just as he was drifting off, his phone rang. He reached for it with a trembling hand. "Hello?" he rasped. "Nam, it's me, Nia." Nia's voice came through the phone. "Are you free? I need to see you. Something doesn't feel right." Nam sat up, fatigue vanishing instantly. "I was about to call you. Something strange happened last night." He told Nia everything, the knocking, the whispers, the charm that had moved on its own. Nia listened quietly, then replied, "I had a feeling. That spirit, it wasn't fully sealed. Either its power is too strong, or what we did wasn't enough." Nam's fear spiked. "So, what do I do? It's not going to leave me alone, is it?" Nia sighed. "I've been researching the reversal charm. One of the ancient books mentions a rare case. If a spirit is too powerful, it can leave a mark on the person who touched the charm, a link, keeping the connection alive. I think you've been marked." A chill ran through Nam's body. "Marked? So I'm cursed forever?" "Not forever," Nia replied, thoughtful, "but the spirit will use that mark to find a way back. We need to break the connection. And according to the book, there's only one way." Nam felt a spark of hope. "What way? Tell me." "We need someone with a special gift, someone who can see and communicate with spirits. That person can help us sever the link between you and the spirit." Nam's hope dimmed. Someone with a gift? Like a medium or shaman? Do people like that really exist? "I get it. It sounds crazy," Nia said, "but this is what the ancient texts say. And I found someone, an elderly woman who lives in seclusion at an old mountain temple. They say she can see and speak with spirits." Nam was silent. He didn't know what to believe, but he knew he had no choice. He couldn't live in fear forever. "So, when do we go?" Nam asked nervously. "I need to prepare a few things." Nia answered, "Maybe this weekend. Do you want to ask Trung and Lin to come?" Nam hesitated. He didn't want to drag them into more danger, but he also didn't want to go alone. "I'll talk to them first." After hanging up, Nam sat in deep thought. He knew this next journey would be far more dangerous than the last, but he had no other option. He called Trung and Lin and told them everything Nia had said. "What? You want to see a spiritual healer?" Trung shouted. "You really believe that stuff?" "Nam?" Lin was clearly nervous. "Nam, that's risky. Can't we find another way?" Nam took a deep breath. "I know it's dangerous, but it's the only way. I can't keep living like this, terrified all the time." They were silent. They understood what he was going through. Finally, Trung sighed. "All right, I'm in, but promise me nothing bad will happen." Lin added softly, "I'll go too. The four of us, together. We'll be okay." Nam felt grateful. He wasn't alone in this fight. That weekend, the four friends set out once more, this time toward distant mountains, where a hidden ancient temple lay among the forest. The path was steep and rough, blanketed in thick fog. Nam's anxiety grew with every step. He didn't know if this woman could help, or if the spirit would even let him go. By the time they reached the temple, dusk had fallen. It was silent, not a soul in sight. The moss-covered roofs, stone walls, and ancient trees created a sacred, solemn atmosphere. Nia spoke with an old monk, who pointed them to a small hermitage behind the main hall. The tiny hut was surrounded by bamboo fencing and a small flower garden. They entered the courtyard. An elderly woman with snow-white hair was meditating on the veranda. Her face was kind, but her eyes, deep and knowing, seemed to pierce straight through them. "Excuse me," Nia said respectfully. "We've come to ask for your help." The old woman opened her eyes and looked directly at Nam. Her gaze was sharp, as if reading his soul. Nam felt a chill crawl down his back. "I know why you're here," she said in a calm yet mysterious tone. "You've awakened something that should have remained asleep." Nam's heart pounded. She knew. "Please, help me," Nam said, voice trembling. "A spirit is haunting me. I can't escape it." The old woman looked at him for a long moment, then sighed. "The mark on you is strong. That spirit has no intention of letting you go." Nam felt a wave of despair. "Then, there's no way to break free?" She shook her head. "There is, but it comes with a price." "What is it?" Nam asked quickly. "I'll do anything." Her eyes narrowed in thought. "You must confront your greatest fear. You must enter the spirit realm, and sever the connection yourself." Nam felt the blood drain from his face. Enter the spirit realm? What did that even mean? "But, how?" he asked, voice shaking. The woman smiled, a mysterious, unreadable smile. "I will guide you, but you must face it alone. Do you dare?" Nam looked at Trung, Lin, and Nia. They all stared back, worried but supportive. He knew this was a terrifying choice, but there was no turning back. He took a deep breath and said, "I dare." The old woman nodded. "Good. Then tonight, we begin." Nam felt a shiver down his spine. He knew, a new journey was about to begin, one filled with danger, and he had no idea if he would return. "Good. Then tonight, we begin." The old woman's voice echoed through the quiet of the small sanctuary, like a sentence already sealed by fate. A chill ran down Nam's spine, but at the same time, a fierce resolve rose within him. He knew this was his one chance to break free from the haunting that had gripped his life. Trung, Lin, and Nia looked at him with worried eyes, but said nothing. They knew Nam had made up his mind, and though they couldn't follow him into that realm, they would be with him, as far as they could. The elderly woman led them into a small room behind the main sanctuary. It was dimly lit by a single flickering oil lamp. Strange charms and talismans hung from the walls, objects Nam had never seen before. The air was thick with the scent of incense, sacred and mysterious, yet somehow heavy. "Sit down," the old woman instructed, pointing to a worn-out straw mat on the floor. All four friends sat. Nia kept his usual calm expression, but Nam could sense the tension in his eyes. Trung was visibly uneasy. glancing around the room, while Lin held tightly onto Nam's hand, her eyes full of fear and worry. The old woman sat down across from Nam and stared into his eyes. "Are you ready?" Her voice was warm, yet full of weight. Nam took a deep breath and nodded. "I'm ready, ma'am." She gave a slight nod and reached for a small earthen bowl. She poured clear water into it, then gently dropped in a few dried jasmine petals. Her lips began to chant, a strange, ancient language Nam had never heard before. Her voice was steady but powerful, pulling Nam into another realm, a realm he didn't understand but could feel pulling at his soul. As she chanted, the jasmine petals began to spin slowly in the bowl, and the water turned cloudy, as if a mist was rising from its surface. Nam felt a cold current surge through his spine, and a light buzzing filled his head, leaving him dizzy and dazed. "Look into the bowl," she instructed. "You'll see the path to the spirit world." Nam stared into the bowl. At first, it was just mist, but slowly, the fog lifted, and an image formed, all along. Dark corridor with old wooden doors on each side. At the far end, a faint light flickered. That hallway. It was the same hallway from the abandoned school they had heard about. Nam's heart pounded. He knew, this was the place. The place where his greatest fear waited for him. "Follow that path," the old woman said calmly. "You will meet the spirit. You must face it, and sever the link with your own hands." Nam looked at Trung, Lin, and Nia. They stared back with silent concern. But no one spoke. They knew Nam had to do this alone. I can do this," Nam said, voice trembling but determined. The woman nodded, reached out, and gently touched Nam's forehead. An icy current shot through him, making him shudder. Then, his vision darkened, his consciousness faded. When Nam awoke, he was standing in a hallway, familiar, yet strange. Broken windows let in shafts of pale light, barely illuminating the dusty floor. The air was freezing, and a heavy pressure weighed on his chest, like the whole space was pressing in on him. Nam knew he had entered the spirit realm. He began walking slowly, every step deliberate. The corridor stretched endlessly forward, pulling him deeper into the heart of the school. Wind howled through shattered glass. Rotten wood creaked underfoot. Every sound was amplified and chilling. Nam felt watched. Every time he turned, he caught glimpses of movement, shadows flickering at the end of the hall. Soft noises behind closed doors. The spirit, it was here, waiting. Eventually, Nam reached a classroom. Its door hung slightly ajar, revealing only darkness inside. A sudden chill pierced through his chest. He pushed the door open further. The rusty hinges groaned loudly. Inside, the room was chaos, an overturned desk, scattered books, chalk lines smeared across the blackboard. Symbols faintly etched in chalk resembled the ones on the cursed charm. "You have arrived," a rasped voice whispered, clearer now. As if standing right beside him, Nam spun around. In the corner of the room, a shadow, vague and shifting, began to form. Slowly, it drifted closer. "What do you want from me?" Nam asked, voice shaking but firm. The shadow didn't respond. It hovered there, still as a statue carved from darkness. Then, a shrill laugh tore through the room, no longer a whisper, but loud and violent, rattling his ears. "You awakened me," the voice growled with venom. "Now, you must pay." A freezing wind whipped through the room, like thousands of icy needles stabbing at his skin. Nam felt a cold hand grip his shoulder. He spun around, but no one was there. Just the same voice, hissing in his ear. "You can't escape me." Nam tried to move, but he couldn't. Something unseen weighed down on him, paralyzing him, crushing the air from his lungs. "Let me go," Nam shouted, struggling against the force. Suddenly, an image flashed in his mind, a girl in a tattered school uniform, long hair covering her face. She stood before a dusty glass trophy case, holding an old, worn-out school bag, her expression, pain and despair. Nam gasped. This girl, this was the spirit haunting him. What do you want from me?" Nam asked again, breathless. Silence. Then, the same raspy voice. "You took everything from me." And at that moment, Nam realized, this wasn't just about revenge. The spirit wasn't just angry. She had lost something. Something she desperately wanted back. But what had been taken from her? Nam took a deep breath. He knew he had to find the truth. The spirit didn't just want revenge, she wanted something returned. But what had been taken? That question echoed endlessly in Nam's mind, a weight pressing on his chest. He glanced around the abandoned classroom, searching for any clue. Broken desks, scattered books, chalkboards covered in strange symbols, all drowned in an eerie silence and oppressive darkness. The girl's shadow still stood there, unmoving. Nam could feel her gaze on him, no longer filled with sharp hatred, but with profound sorrow, a longing so deep it pierced the soul. What did you lose?" Nam asked gently, his voice soft, trying to build a bridge. He knew he couldn't fight the curse, he had to understand it. The shadow remained silent. Then, a faint sigh drifted through the room like a breeze slipping through a crack in the window. And suddenly, a vivid image flashed in Nam's mind, clearer than before. A school ceremony. The courtyard adorned with banners and flags. Thunderous applause filling the air. The girl, in a school uniform, stood proudly on a podium, holding a shining trophy. She was radiant, a model student, the pride of the school. Her teachers and classmates smiled, clapped, celebrated, but the image vanished, replaced by a darker scene. The girl sat alone in the very classroom Nam now stood in. Her face clouded with worry. The trophy sat on her desk, no longer gleaming, now dust-covered and forgotten. She clutched a letter in her hand. Her eyes were red. A pang of pain rose in Nam's chest. He understood. This wasn't an evil spirit. She was a brilliant student, someone who had it all, only to lose everything. "Were you wronged?" Nam asked, voice trembling. The shadow shifted slightly. Then came a voice, soft as a breath of wind. "Everything was taken from me." A chill crept up Nam's spine. He realized the story behind this spirit was far more complex than he'd imagined. Who took it from you?" he asked, gently urging her to reveal more. Again, silence. Then, another image appeared in Nam's mind. A man, middle-aged, well-dressed in a suit, face stern and authoritative, stood before the school's trophy case, holding the girl's trophy, but he wasn't proud. His eyes were cold, calculating. Nam flinched. Who was he? And why was he holding her trophy? Suddenly, a shrill laugh echoed again, not bitter or angry this time, but broken, hollow. The girl's shadow began to move slowly toward Nam, as if she wanted to share her story. Nam felt an overwhelming need to help. He had to bring her justice. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, voice steady now. The shadow reached out and touched Nam's hand. A jolt of icy energy surged through him, and then another image appeared in his mind, an old diary lying beneath an overturned desk. Nam's eyes widened. The diary, that must be what she wanted him to find. "You want me to find your diary?" he asked. The shadow nodded weakly. Then she slowly backed away, melting into the darkness. Nam stood alone in the classroom. But something had changed. The crushing weight inside him had lifted. He knew now what he had to do. He began searching, carefully. He sifted through the scattered books and papers. Finally, he found it, a weathered, dusty diary beneath the old desk. He picked it up. Its cover was cracked and rotted. The pages had yellowed with time. Gently, he opened it. On the first page, written in delicate handwriting, date, month, year, Nam began reading. Each line brought the girl's life to light, her thoughts, her dreams, her voice. She had been a gifted student, a loving daughter, a loyal friend. She had dreams, ambitions, a bright future. Then, everything changed. A man, a teacher, had stolen her achievement, her recognition, her future. She had been falsely accused, humiliated, isolated, and ultimately, broken by despair, she had taken her own life. Nam's hands trembled. A burning fury rose in his chest. He had to help her. He had to expose the truth, so she could finally be free. He kept reading. The final entry, shaky, written in blood. "I will never forgive the one who destroyed me. I will haunt him, until he pays." Nam froze. This was the curse. She wasn't at peace because of that lingering hatred. He knew what he had to do. He had to bring her justice, so she could let go. Nam took a deep breath. The battle wouldn't be easy, but he had no choice. He stood, the diary clutched in his hands. The classroom remained cloaked in darkness. But Nam was no longer afraid. Only a fierce resolve burned in his chest. He stepped into the hallway. The broken windows, the creaking floorboards, none of it fazed him anymore. By the time he exited the school, the sun had risen high. He inhaled the fresh morning air. He was back in the real world. Nam looked down at the diary. This was the proof. The key to uncovering the truth. He pulled out his phone and called his friends. "Hello, Trung," Nam said, his voice firm. "I found the truth. We have to do something." Nam's voice over the phone was filled with urgency and gravity, making Trung, Lin, and Nia rush to his room without hesitation. The late afternoon sunlight of Da Nang streamed through the window, casting golden beams across the floor, but it couldn't dispel the heavy tension that gripped the room. "What happened, Nam? What did you find?" Trung asked, a mix of worry and curiosity in his voice. Nam placed the old diary on the table. "Read this," he said firmly. "This is the truth." His eyes met each of theirs, steady and clear. Lin reached for the diary with trembling hands. She opened it and began reading, line by line, story by story, the girl's pain unfolding before her. Trung and Nia leaned in silently, flipping through the pages. The room went still. The only sounds were the faint rustling of paper and their heavy, uneven breaths. When they reached the final page, Lin gasped and dropped the diary, her face pale. "Oh my God, this can't be real. How could something like this happen?" Trung clenched his fists, his jaw tight with rage. "That bastard, he really did that to her?" Nia was silent, eyes burning with anger. "That teacher, who is he?" Nam inhaled deeply. She didn't write his name, but she mentioned a key event, a citywide academic competition from years ago. He was in charge of the team. Trung slammed his hand on the table. "We have to expose him. He can't get away with this." Lin looked worried. "But how? The diary's all we have. What if no one believes us?" Nia thought for a moment. "Then we investigate. We find out who he is. And we share the diary the right way, publicly. With credibility." Nam nodded. "Exactly. We have to. For her soul to finally rest." They quickly formed a plan. Trung would dig into the teacher's identity and past. Lin would reach out to journalists and student rights organizations. Nia, with his knowledge of the supernatural, would research if the reversal charm could aid them further. Nam, meanwhile, would guard the diary and prepare for the confrontation ahead. The days that followed were filled with action. Trung discovered that the teacher in question was now a senior figure in the local education department, respected and powerful. Lin made contact with a young investigative journalist known for taking on injustice. Nia pored over ancient texts, trying to understand the charm's deeper functions. Nam, on the other hand, was haunted more than ever. The spirit's presence grew stronger. No longer just whispers or fleeting shadows, he now saw vivid dreams. Her memories. He watched her cry, suffer, be isolated, and finally, die in despair. These visions strengthened his resolve. One evening, when everything was in place, the four friends gathered again in Nam's room. "It's all set," Trung said tensely. "The journalist is meeting us tomorrow. He's confirmed the teacher's identity, the same man who led the academic team back then." Lin bit her lip. "I'm still scared. What if something goes wrong?" Nia looked at her, then at Nam. "Don't be. We've prepared well." "Nam, have you felt anything new from the charm?" Nam pulled the charm from his pocket. It no longer glowed or pulsed cold, but he felt deeply connected to it, as though it was part of him. "Not really. But I feel like she's here, watching us." Nia nodded. "Good. Maybe she'll help." The next morning, they met the journalist. Nam told the full story, from the cursed house, to the charm, to the diary and the spirit's tragic past. Trung, Lin, and Nia filled in the details they'd uncovered. The journalist listened intently, face growing serious. After Nam finished, he picked up the diary, flipping through the pages slowly. "I believe you," he said firmly. This is horrifying. I'll help you reveal the truth. Nam felt immense relief. Finally, someone believed him. The journalist began investigating. He gathered evidence, interviewed people, and dug deep into the teacher's past. The diary served as a powerful piece of proof. Soon, a series of articles exploded across the media. The story of a brilliant student wronged, silenced, and driven to death. It rocked the public. The once respected teacher was exposed for who he truly was. The public was outraged. Calls for justice swept across social media. The authorities could no longer ignore it. In the end, the teacher was arrested. Justice had been served. When the news of his arrest was made public, Nam felt something lift from his soul. The weight that had clung to him, gone. He knew the girl had finally found peace. That night, Nam dreamed of her again. But this time, she stood in a garden full of flowers. Her face no longer twisted in grief, but soft, peaceful, smiling. She looked at Nam, her eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you," her voice whispered, like wind through leaves. "No hatred now, only warmth. I've been freed." Her figure slowly dissolved into light. Nam awoke, feeling a strange serenity. He knew she had truly moved on. Life returned to normal. Nam focused on school again, preparing for exams, but he had changed. He was no longer the quiet, withdrawn boy. He had become stronger, braver, someone who knew how to stand up for what was right. Trung, Lin, and Nia had changed too. They had faced darkness together and emerged closer than ever. One quiet afternoon, the four of them walked along Da Nang's beach. The sea breeze carried the scent of salt. Waves lapped gently at the shore. "It's over now," Lin said softly. "We did it." Trung smiled. "Yeah, we really did." Nia gazed out at the horizon, thoughtful. "There's still so much in this world we don't understand." Nam watched the waves crash against the sand, his eyes distant. He knew life would always be full of unknowns. And he was ready for whatever came next.